Your prepper neighbor just told you he's got a year of freeze-drying food stashed in his garage. Sounds prepared until you realize he lives in Phoenix and his AC just died. 3 days into the heat wave and all that food is worthless because he's dead from heat stroke. Location kills faster than starvation. Today, we're talking about the survival myths that don't just fail, they accelerate your death.
Let's start with the biggest lie on prepping. Water is your primary concern. Everyone repeats the rule of threes like gospel. 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Sounds scientific until you're shivering in wet clothes at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't have 3 hours. You have maybe 90 minutes before hypothermia shuts down your core temperature. That rule of threes is an average for ideal conditions. Wet and cold compresses your timeline to nothing. Your body loses heat 25 times faster when wet. Wind accelerates that loss exponentially. People die of exposure in summer because they underestimated how fast wet clothing kills. The myth says water first, shelter later. Reality says shelter is oxygen level critical in any weather that can kill you within hours.
Here's another one that gets people killed. Stockpiling food is preparation. Your pantry has 6 months of calories, so you think you're ready. Except you didn't consider the mathematics of collapse. When the grid fails, your neighborhood has maybe 3 days of food in local stores. That's not 3 days until resupply, that's 3 days total, because modern distribution runs on just-in-time delivery. Those stores empty in hours, not days, because everyone hits them simultaneously. Now you've got your 6 months of food and 6,000 desperate neighbors who have nothing. You didn't prep for survival, you painted a target on your house. Food stockpiles without operational security and community networks aren't preparation, they're bait. The myth says accumulate supplies. Reality says your supplies make you a victim unless you've thought through the social dynamics of scarcity.
Let's talk about the gun myth, because this one is everywhere. Buy firearms, stockpile ammunition, and you're prepared to defend yourself. Sounds empowering until you run the actual numbers. You're one person with however many rounds you stored. Your neighborhood has hundreds of people. Some of them have guns too. Some have more guns. Some have training. Most don't, but desperation makes people dangerous regardless. The fantasy is you'll successfully defend your stockpile through superior firepower. The mathematics say you'll get overwhelmed, outflanked, or simply outlasted. Firearms are tools with specific uses. They're not magic wands that solve the social collapse problem. Defense requires layers, distance from population density, community networks for mutual security, and preparations that don't advertise your resources. The myth says guns equal safety. Reality says guns without strategy equal false confidence.
Here's the one that kills preppers in the first week, bugging out. Your plan is when things collapse, you grab your 70-pound bag and walk to your uncle's cabin 300 miles away. This sounds like a plan until you actually think about it. 300 miles at 3 miles per hour is 100 hours of walking. That's assuming flat terrain, good weather, no injuries, and nobody stopping you. You're on roads with millions of other people who had the same idea. Traffic gridlock doesn't just affect cars, it affects foot traffic too. Your bug-out bag weighs 70 pounds, which means you're burning 5,000 calories per day while carrying maybe 3 days of food. The math doesn't work. You'll be exhausted, starving, and surrounded by desperate people within 72 hours. Bugging out works if you leave before everyone else realizes they should leave. Once it's obvious, you're in a migration of millions and your individual plan becomes irrelevant. The myth says mobility equals survival. Reality says timing determines everything, and most people's timing is identically bad. Now let's address the skills myth, because this one is pervasive. Learn bushcraft, practice fire starting, know which plants are edible, and you can survive anywhere. Sounds empowering until you're trying to feed yourself through winter in Montana. A skilled hunter with modern equipment can harvest maybe 1 deer per week if conditions are perfect and game is abundant. 1 deer provides roughly 200 pounds of meat.
That's about 120,000 calories. Sounds like a lot until you realize winter caloric needs run 3,000 to 4,000 per day depending on activity and cold. That deer feeds you for 30 to 40 days maximum. You need to kill a deer every month just to maintain body weight, assuming you successfully preserve all the meat and nothing spoils. Now multiply that by however many people are in your group. The mathematics of living off the land don't work at scale. Historical hunter-gatherers required massive territories, roughly 1 square mile per person in rich environments, up to 100 square miles per person in poor environments. Your skills are real, but the carrying capacity of land is the limiting factor. The myth says skills equal independence. Reality says even expert hunters starve when too many people hunt the same territory.
Here's the myth that costs people everything. Gold and silver will be currency after collapse. You converted your savings to precious metals because paper money will be worthless. Sounds logical until you try to buy food with a 1-ounce gold coin worth $2,000. The guy with chickens doesn't want your gold because gold doesn't feed chickens. He wants feed, medicine for his sick kid, or security for his property. Your gold has theoretical value but no practical utility in immediate post-collapse scenarios. Precious metals become relevant once stable trade networks re-established, which could be months or years depending on collapse severity. In the immediate crisis, people barter practical goods, food, fuel, medicine, ammunition, tools. You can't eat gold and you can't burn it for warmth. The myth says precious metals preserve wealth. Reality says practical goods are currency until stability returns.
Let's talk about the community myth because this one is subtle. Your plan involves neighbors banding together for mutual support. Sounds wholesome until you examine who your neighbors actually are. Maybe 10% have any relevant skills or preparations. Another 10% are predatory and see crisis as opportunity. The remaining 80% are unprepared, panicking, and looking to you because you mentioned prepping once at a barbecue 3 years ago. Now you're responsible for feeding and protecting people who contributed nothing to preparation. Community is essential for long-term survival, but community requires prior organization, shared resources, and established roles. Hoping your neighborhood spontaneously organizes into a functional mutual aid network is fantasy. Real community preparation means identifying capable people now, building relationships now, and establishing expectations now. The myth says community forms naturally under stress. Reality says stress amplifies existing dysfunction unless you built structure beforehand.
Here's one that seems smart until you think it through. Remote wilderness property is the ultimate survival location. You bought land in the mountains far from cities. Sounds perfect until you consider that remote means far from hospitals, far from mutual aid, far from any support network. You're isolated, which protects you from desperate refugees, but also isolates you from any help when things go wrong. Break your leg and you're dead because no one's coming. Get sick and you're dead because there's no medical care. Your property gets attacked and you're dead because there's no backup. Remote wilderness works if you're already living there with established infrastructure and community. Buying empty land as a bug-out destination means you're planning to arrive exhausted, undersupplied, and alone to a location with no resources. The myth says distance equals safety. Reality says isolation is a multiplier. It multiplies both safety and vulnerability depending on your circumstances.
Now let's address the biggest myth of all. You can prepare for everything. Buy the right gear, learn the right skills, stockpile the right supplies, and you'll survive anything. This is the fundamental lie that wastes more prepper resources than anything else. Preparation isn't about covering every scenario. It's about understanding which scenarios are most likely and most deadly, then optimizing for those specific threats. You can't prepare for nuclear war, pandemic, economic collapse, civil unrest, natural disasters, and personal emergencies simultaneously with equal effectiveness. You have finite resources. Trying to cover everything means you're mediocre at everything and excellent at nothing. Effective preparation requires threat assessment. Where do you live? What regional disasters are statistically likely? What's your physical capability? What's your budget? Honest answers to these questions reveal that most survival scenarios require the same fundamentals: water, shelter, food, security, community. The specific gear matters less than the general capacity. The myth says comprehensive preparation is possible. Reality says focus and depth beat breadth and mediocrity. Here's what actually matters. Location determines your survival probability more than any other factor. You can have perfect gear, excellent skills, and deep stockpiles, but if you're in Miami during hurricane season or Phoenix during summer grid failure, your preparations are worthless. Geography is the ultimate prep. Everything else is optimization. Distance from population density gives you time. Independent water sources give you sustainability. Growing season length determines food security. Legal framework determines whether you can build what you need without bureaucratic obstruction. These factors matter infinitely more than which brand of freeze-dried food you bought. The second thing that matters is timing. Being the first to recognize crisis and act gives you advantage. Being in the middle of the pack means you're competing with millions. Being last means you're scavenging. Most people's timing is identical because most people wait for permission, official warnings, media coverage, government announcements. By the time consensus forms that action is necessary, it's too late. Effective preppers act on information others dismiss. They leave before evacuation orders. They stock up before panic buying. They relocate before migration becomes obvious. The advantage isn't gear or skills, it's willingness to act while others are still hoping things improve. The third thing is networks. Lone wolf survival is Hollywood fiction. Humans survived as a species because we cooperate. Every successful survival community throughout history had division of labor, shared resources, and mutual defense. Your individual preparations matter, but your integration into functional networks matters more. This doesn't mean telling everyone you're a prepper. It means identifying capable people, building relationships based on shared values, and establishing mutual aid agreements before crisis forces the issue. Networks provide security, knowledge, and resources no individual can match. The mathematics are simple, even if the execution is hard. Location multiplies everything you do. Timing determines whether your preparations help or hurt. Networks provide capacity beyond individual limits. Get these three right and your survival probability increases regardless of specific gear or skills. Get them wrong and perfect preparations become irrelevant. Myths persist because they're simple and empowering. Reality is complex and often counterintuitive. You either learn the actual mathematics of survival or become a statistic someone else references. Choose accordingly.
Comment below, which survival myth did you believe before watching this? Are you still planning to bug out with that 70-pound pack, or did the math change your mind? If you've already tested these myths in the field and learned the hard way, tell us what happened. Subscribe if you want survival analysis based on mathematics and physics, not folklore. Every video on this channel examines what actually works when conventional wisdom kills you. This is Fallout Rat. Stay filthy, stay smart, stay rational when everyone else is drinking their own piss because someone on the internet said it works.